All right, so we're back. Um, just showing you I added one thing. I put a button here, right statically, right inside my HTML. You just notice that it came over here. And I just put first on it. I gave an ID of first dash button. My convention when using HTML or CSS is not to do this notation, but to do this notation, because since we can use these things now in our JavaScript over here, I like to do that so I know whenever I see this dash here, I'm like, oh, I know this is an element with inside the HTML. Just a quick reference for me. Once again, my convention, you don't need to follow that, just how I try to make sense of the world in my very confused head. So now I have that button set to first ID. I use Bootstrap's default button to text or put the text in the middle, do the button default, and make it a button. Obviously, the button is made by these, but this just allows it to be a little neater. It's a lot uglier. I'll show you actually what it looks like without Bootstrap. This is why everybody should be using some type of Bootstrap. See how it went to that. So you can go like that. Oops, that is not what I had in mind. There you go. And I believe we can actually make this a different color if I remember how to do it. I don't remember these things because they're all online, so I just like looking them up. See, I can make it blue. Isn't that cool? I believe danger is red. Yep. And then info, I think, is a cool color too. Yeah, see? Alright, sorry, get back to it. I like this color. That's kind of cool. So we'll do this blue color for this. So yeah, I just have this set to here. And then I added a little styling so it's not plussed up against the top, just making it neater for me to see. And we're going to then go over to our JavaScript. Let me make this a little, whoop. There we go, we'll make this a little smaller. There we go, so you guys can see everything right here. A little bit of forewarning, I'm just going to assume that you have HTML and CSS experience before this, because I'm going to be manipulating the DOM using this click. So I'm hoping that you have some experience with that, so I don't need to explain too much, but I will explain as I go if I find it beneficial. So basically, once again, there is a way that you can do this with vanilla JavaScript, and I'm going to be frankly honest with you. I have no idea how to do it, because I never learned how to do it, because I just learned jQuery right away. Because I conceptually understand what jQuery is doing, and I believe that people can get that fairly quick, what jQuery is actually doing, because it's just a massive library that's already written for you. I never learned vanilla JavaScript because I have access to that library at all times through this CDN right here. So I just rather use jQuery, and yeah, and that's just the way it is. So yeah, so what we're going to do is, once again, we're going to reference the jQuery library, so we're always going to be using this $sign when we ever want to reference, saying like, hey, for this next line of code over here, use jQuery. Once again, it's parentheses, and then quotes. And now we need to give it a class or an ID. I don't want to give it this class because if I had buttons for all of them, like for the second and third, they're going to be relatively the same, right? Button default. I want this button to be unique to the first div. So I'm going to grab right here, first dash button. So I'm grabbing that. Once again, I have to say whether or not it's an ID or class. So if it's a class, I would use that. If it was an ID, which it is, I will use this, and then the name of it. So this is first dash button. So once again, I notice like, hey, I'm using a dash right here. So therefore, this is a zoning out HTML CSS attribute. So then I use dot. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically saying, hey, in this DOM, find this. And so it's looking. Oh, here it is, right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do on parentheses. So this is a function within a jQuery. You can look that up on this website. Pull that up for you guys quickly. Once again, I don't have this all memorized. We live in a world where you can't. There's too much information. So this is a great website. See right there? There you go. And there it is right there. And so basically how I learned this is to read this. I will have one complaint with jQuery. Documentation is not as easy to read as Mozilla's development network is. It's a little more thick, so it does take a little longer to read and try to understand, but this will show you anything that this will do. And very, very often you're going to be using, for a button, you're going to be using on. Now, I'm not saying you're always going to be using on, because, you know, with programming things can vary so often. So what I'm saying is that usually with a button you're going to be using on. It's very typical. So what we're going to do here is that in here it's a function, right? So we're going to say function, parentheses, and there you go. So with jQuery block level coding, it's generally going to look like this. Once again, I said generally, it's not always going to look like this, but usually it will. It's going to have your curly brace, parentheses, and semicolon. Once again, you don't need the semicolon. It's there for convention, but I like having it for these particular ones so I know where it is. And I'll be a friend to myself, end of on function. Whoa! And there you go. So now what I can do is I can simply say, hey, what do I want to do when this button's clicked? So we'll just do something that we're very similar with. We're going to do use the jQuery library. So we're going to put hello world in here. And then we want to say, hey, where do we want to change this? Once again, you can do second, you can do third, you can do anything you want, but I'm going to just choose first again. Once again, we have to say whether it's an ID or class. So class is this, ID is this, so we're going to be using ID because that's what I have. And there you go. So let's run this. Notice that nothing's happening, right? I'm still having I am first, which is right here, because the document is listening for this to be clicked. And watch what happens when I click it. Dun 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 dun. Bam. Not bam. What am I doing wrong? Did I spell something wrong? Ah! See, I am human. See, I forgot this. I apologize. So you need one other parameter in here. So I will start over with this. You need what it's doing. And there you go. I apologize, I forgot this little piece right here. So on works with a lot of things. Like you can do on key up, which is like a click on a keyboard. You can do, which you have click right here. There should be more down here. Let's see. Click again. Is there nothing else? Oh, see, on submit, if you're using a form. So basically it's telling the computer on what type of thing to do it on. I forgot that. I do apologize. So if I was having that mistake, I would go back here and realize, oh, I'm forgetting the selector. I'm forgetting the event. I'm forgetting the selector. I'm forgetting those things, and then I'll come back and fix it. So that's my bad right there. I am human. So now we're going to reload the page with the new software, and notice that this is still the same. So I'm going to do on click. What the balls is going on? There. All right. There. Okay. Yay. Yay. All right. So you see that now it is working. We are very excited. I'm very excited. I just want to show you that I don't know everything, and even people who know everything, don't know everything. Basically, you have to go back to resources like this and read up on it, because you might remember most of it, but there is so much knowledge out there that you always have to dive back in and start reading. And that's what I do, is I just basically start Googling and just read and then find out how to do it. So don't be afraid to use resources like that. That's just part of programming's life. And making mistakes like these are part of our life as well. We have to, now that this is not working, we have to go back to the code and figure out why. Whether it's throwing an error or we typed in a word wrong. So for example, if I did this, see, nothing's happening. Let's see, it throws an error. There should be no error on here. No. It's just saying, hey, this doesn't exist, but there's no error. So, yeah, those are type of things that you just need to be aware of. So to go over a little more what's happening here, I'm going to go ahead and shrink this. So, very cool thing with Google is if you click this button right here, and then click this, it will actually open the code for what you clicked on. So it opened this. So you see that this button is exactly what we gave it here, ID first button. So it's basically, I'm saying like, hey, on first button, on this first button, which is this, do something. And so it's waiting for this button to be clicked. Notice that there's an after here, because that's what's going to happen after. And then it's saying like, hey, after this click, I want you to put this in there instead. So hopefully you can start seeing the amazing stuff that you can do with websites now, because now you won't have static websites anymore. You can use this type of knowledge to start making interactive web experiences. So if you wanted the user to see different buttons here that would display different things, you can do that. You can change these colors if the users want. You can change whatever you want. You can start doing math on here. You're going to start doing a trivia game, all by using dynamic jQuery. Now, once again, I wanted to point out that you can do this with vanilla JavaScript. It's just a lot more work, and it's gotten to the point now in the programming world that you don't even learn how to do it with vanilla JavaScript. You just dive into this, because this is so much more convenient, and it's open source, it's ready to go. You don't have a problem getting it. So once again, that's just an intro to how to manipulate the DOM using a button.